Hello everybody and welcome to Uproot Reddit. Now imagine you bought the best steaks for a backyard barbecue. Next door to you, some construction workers are working super hard. Would you decide to host a mini barbecue party to support them? Sure. Now as you serve the construction workers, a nosy Karen comes up and intrusively invites herself to your mini barbecue. All because she wants her son to have steak. Now, would you decide to give her some steak? Nope. Now this is Karen we're talking about, right? How do you think she'll respond to you turning her down? Perhaps Reddit user FlippyIsKing18 has the answer to this difficult problem in today's post, entitled Mom Calls the Cops When I Wouldn't Give Any Steak to Her Son. Wait, why is that the answer to the question? Well, let me tell you, here's the reason why. Quote, this happened maybe about a year ago, before the whole pandemic started. The weather had been nice, and I had just gotten some sirloin steaks. I haven't used my grill since the previous year, so I decided now would be a good time to try it out. For a few days, a group of construction workers had been busy working on a new house. It's built now, and it's pretty nice. Way too expensive for me though. But it had been hot and or rainy almost the entire duration of the build, and they were working their butts off the whole way through. To all you construction workers out there, I commend you. You guys work hard day and night to make sure the project gets done and gets done right. So I decided to be nice, and after going over to the site, I yelled for them to come get some free food when they went on break. They were incredibly grateful. There were about 5 workers present, and 4 of them showed up for steak while the other passed. I had enough for everyone, including one for me, and we all had a nice time chatting and getting to know one another. One was a veteran of the Marines back in the early 80s. He's friends with my grandma now. One was even related to the sheriff of our county. Anyway, amid the conversation, we heard an "excuse me" from the other side of the fence. Oh gee, I wonder who that could be. My neighbor is this middle-aged woman with a super freaky son. He was this stoner influencer who loved to go on social media and post about his obsession for pot, and lived off of his mother's paycheck every week while living on her couch. Oh, he was also in his mid-30s. And there she was on the other side of the fence. And here are the cast of characters for today's story. We've got EM, who is entitled mom, GAK, grown kid, CW1 and 2, construction workers 1 and 2, and P for police officer. Now here is how the conversation all started. Quote, my son was wondering if he can have some steak too. Sorry, I don't have any left. But you have enough for all of them. Yeah, I do. I mean, if he wanted some, he should have came earlier. No, you should have bought enough for everyone. Look, lady, this guy was nice enough to cook steak. Don't you have work you should be doing? We're on lunch, ma'am. Last time I checked, this was like a mini barbecue get-together. This was not a steakhouse, okay? She soon left in a huff, but not before shouting that she was calling the police. Now, I was the only one who heard that, I think. So I asked the relative of the sheriff if there was really anything the police would arrest me for. Of course, he said no. In his words, there are no laws against not sharing. I asked if we should tell her that, and he again said no. Wait, why? Again, in his words, it would be the most fun thing they've had the job ever since they started building that house. On a side note, I actually did have an extra steak, but I was saving it for later. Sure enough, after the construction workers went back to the site, who's to show up but a police officer? No lights, so it's a non-emergency, but he parked right outside entitled mom's house. Both her and the grown kid walked out and greeted the police officer. I walked out on my own lawn and entitled mom pointed straight at me. I can't quite remember everything said here, but she was accusing me of discrimination because I left her 30-ish-year-old little boy out of our little steak party, which she intrusively invited her own self to. I swear, it was like a kindergarten lunch. The police officer obviously shook it off, warned her to not get the police involved in something so ridiculous again, and started to leave. But I said, "Wait, officer, are you hungry?" "Well, I haven't had lunch yet. Why?" "May I offer you some steak?" "I knew it! You do have more steak! I demand you give it to my son now! And I demand you both go back into your house before I arrest you for disturbing the peace and possibly harassment." But you can't do that. He can't do that. Tell him, grown kid. I just wanted some steak. Officer, you have to do something about this. This man is performing a hate crime on my son. Yeah, the son that has a pot obsession. We both actually laughed. The police officer said something along the lines of, "Have a good day," and I led him into my backyard. I had to give him the steak raw since he had to go back on his patrol, but we had a good laugh. Entitled mom and grown kid finally went back into their house, and every time that I see them nowadays, she scowls at me, while grown kid just pays no attention. I occasionally see that same officer from time to time, and every time I see him, he asks the same thing. "Did you remember to share today?" After all, sharing is caring. Anyways, Karen, there is a such thing as going to Costco, buying yourself some steak, grill in your own backyard, and serving your own son steak you made. And if that's too hard of a reality for you to wrap that entitled brain around, then why not go to Longhorn Steakhouse and buy the biggest steak on their menu for your son? That way, you won't be dragging your son into your own little world of drama and pettiness. Okay, now that little tangent's out of the way, we can finally relax and... wait. No, you have got to be kidding me. Okay guys, you're not gonna believe this, but you know the whole Karen wanting steak for her own son story? If you thought that was ridiculous, Reddit user IxieThings has an entitled parent story that literally takes the cake. But instead of an entitled parent wanting steak for her son, it involves an entitled parent wanting a child. Oh yeah, that's not the ridiculous bit. Here's what the title says. "You already have a child. You should sell me your new baby." No joke. That's literally what this story is about. Here's what happened. Quote, "As much as I like this sub, I live in fear of having the opportunity to post here. And yet, here I am, with the realization that I have family that I can talk about in here. Warning, English is not my first language. This is the most manipulative and ugly, literally ugly, classist, racist person I've ever met. I've worked in customer service and do politics in a totalitarian government, so it's safe to assume I've already seen the worst of the worst. She's married to my uncle, so let's call her Mary. Now, Mary has pulled a lot of entitled stunts over the course of her life. I probably have over 100 stories that I can share that I know of. I don't talk to that part of the family because it's toxic, but there are a few family gatherings in which we do meet. One of those happened yesterday, and I got reminded of her golden traits. So, thought you enjoyed raging with me. Her entitlement shown yesterday as she tried to make herself the best friend of my current boss, who's married to my cousin and he's filthy rich. Brought a friend of hers who was supposed to be strictly quarantined because she is high risk, tried to outshine the 1-month-old baby who we were all there to meet with her already grown-up daughters who we've all met, tried to become the host of the party in a house that wasn't hers, going as far as to search and serve food from the refrigerator that wasn't designated to the party servings. And to top it all off, we were also there to pray for my cousin's mother who died last week. Now, I don't participate in Christian stuff, but she was my favorite aunt and like a second mother to me. So that moment of appreciation was very important to me, to my cousin, my other aunt, and Mary's husband, which in this case, that was his sister. It turns out Mary decided that since we were there to remember the dead ones, it would be a nice thing to not only take the role of the main person leading the prayers, but to also include a picture, mind you, a big one, of her mother that she pulled out of her purse and put it in front of my aunt's picture, covering it almost completely, and started with a speech of her own of how she missed her mother who died 10 years ago, and literally just said, "Rest in peace," about my aunt's death. What a low blow. Oh, but I'm not here today to tell you that story. Oh no, I was just venting. Since I have so much to tell in so little time, I figured it would be best if I started with the oldest tale I know of. The time she asked my mom to sell her, my brother, while she was 4 months pregnant. Oh boy, here comes the ridiculous bit. Quote, "Now, good old Mary is infertile. She has 2 daughters, which one was conceived in vitro and then introduced into her womb. The other one popped out of nowhere, literally. We suspect she bought it out from someone since she has a record of trying this, but whatever. Before having her first daughter, when I was around 10 years old, my mom broke the news to the family that she was pregnant. Yay! Now, Mary wasn't happy with this because she, as of then, had been trying for years with her husband and wasn't able to get pregnant. She always had this sort of competition with my mom and with everyone because she has this need of being the best one in everything. She must have the most money, have the most expensive clothes, become more successful in her career, having the happiest marriage, or going to the most exotic places. But she wasn't the best. Oh, she was the only one with no children out of the 7 siblings of the family, my aunts and uncles, and she was also one of the oldest wives. So imagine her jealousy when the youngest one, directly below her husband, was going to have her second child while her and her husband were still child-free. The horror! Her status! More like the drama queen. So she put my mother aside one day and told her, "You know, it isn't fair that you get pregnant before us. It wasn't fair for you to have OP before your brother since he's older than you. But, whatever. It can't be helped if OP was a broken condom or something." I'm sorry, what? "But you know, we've been trying for years now and we're just exhausted. And we're not comfortable with trying those artificial methods, nor having a baby without our blood. So since you're family, and we know you are not in a financial position to take care of another baby right now, what would you say if I offered to pay for everything pregnancy related, and after the baby is born, I would pay you said amount for keeping it as your brother's and I's baby?" And of course, my mom said no. She told me roughly how the proposition went years later, but only because I was the one that found out why she was so pushy about buying my brother. Because this wasn't just a one-time thing, oh no. She tried constantly to convince my parents to sell them my brother throughout the next 5 months, and even for some months after he was born. You see, my father is a son of immigrants. He has European bloodline and is very handsome. But Mary also has a need of proving to everyone that she has royal blood. And aesthetics are everything to her. Hence the need to show herself as the best of the best in every aspect of her life. And she will not hesitate to do anything to achieve her goal of being the perfect woman with the perfect life. This includes pretending she has white genes. She doesn't. We live in a very heavily race-mixed country. She was born in one of the least developed states, in a humble family, in a small town, with only town people that has been working under the sun for generations, so all of them have, you guessed it, dark skin. She married my uncle, who comes from a family that has lived in an island for generations, and was also the most dark-skinned one of all of the siblings. There is no way she's going to have a baby who is white. But my mom is one of the most light-skinned between her siblings, and she married my dad, who has Italian and Polish genes. And I was born with very pale skin and smooth hair. Mary's and her husband's hair are what we describe as bad hair. Not in an offensive way, but that's how it's called here. It's basically super twisted and thick hair. There was a big chance my brother was going to be born European looking. You already know where this is going, right? One day I was minding my own business while in their daughter's birthday party, and I happened to wander close to where Mary was talking with someone of whom I didn't know. And I heard how she openly complained about how her daughter was black and how she wished she managed to convince my mom and dad to just give her their baby because having a white son would have solved all of her problems. I mean, it's so hard to move up the stairs of society when you have a black family. And not only that, but having an ugly daughter isn't going to help either. There's no way she will marry a rich man. How is she supposed to pay her retirement? There is more said, but I can't remember it all. And yes, my uncle approves of her behavior and patronizes it. They, and I mean the two dark-skinned people, believe in white supremacy. Oh, by the way, forgot to mention that the daughter that popped out of nowhere one day is white and looks nothing like Mary nor her husband. First off, there's a whole lot of nope going in on this twisted family story. And second, maybe work on yourself first before you decide that you want kids. Because I mean, adoption is a thing. After all, you wouldn't want to teach them your entitled ways. And third, asking for your family member to sell you their baby is the most low-down, dirty request any human could ever ask. If you haven't realized it, kids are humans, not a toy doll. Lesson learned. Hide your steak and your kids from entitled parents. So yeah, you've heard it all here today. 2 ridiculous entitled parent stories. Oh, and there's more coming that are probably gonna get way more ridiculous from here on out. But until then, that's all for today. We'll be back for more interesting entitled mom posts right here on Uproot Reddit. By the way, I'm being serious about the hiding thing.